You might be a good man, loyal, hardworking, present, but none of that stops a woman from drifting away emotionally, and in many cases, from crossing a line you never saw coming. The uncomfortable truth is that infidelity rarely starts in the bedroom. It begins with emotional exhaustion you unintentionally triggered, with a buildup of overlooked details. And by the time you wake up, she no longer feels anything. Just aversion.in this video, you'll discover the 6 invisible mistakes that are silently killing her desire for you and might be pushing her into another man's arms. These behaviors are so common they seem harmless, but they kill intimacy and destroy connection. If you want to understand what's driving away the woman who still sleeps beside you, even if she says she loves you, then you need to watch until the end. Because if you stop halfway, you'll only grasp half the problem and apply the wrong solution. Let's begin with a mistake so common that most don't even recognize it as a threat. But it is. Mistake 1. When the couple becomes business partners. Not lovers, they pay all the bills on time. Divide the house chores like pros. The kids' schedule is spotless, the utilities on auto pay, even the grocery runs like clockwork. But at night, when they lie down, there's no exchange. Just exhaustion. Just silence. Just two bodies lying next to each other, together, yet unseen. The relationship has become a company, and they, business partners merely sharing duties. This kind of superficial connection sneaks in quietly. It hides behind the busyness, behind the excuse of routine, in the illusion that fulfilling responsibilities is enough. But it's not. A relationship without intimacy becomes a sterile arrangement. And no woman sustains desire for a man who turned into a coworker of to-do lists and calendar syncs. She might not say it aloud, but she feels emotionally orphaned. Inside her own home, what's worse is that all of this stems from a lack of purpose in the relationship. The couple forgot why they came together. Forgot to laugh, to dream, to touch without rushing. All that's left is the social role. When affection is reduced to mechanical goodnights and emotionless good mornings, the lack of warmth becomes quiet disgust. She begins to crave a different world, not out of malice, but from longing to feel alive again. Men in this situation usually don't realize how much they're feeding a cycle of self-sabotage. They think they're doing everything right. And, in a sense, they are, in the business role. But they've forgotten the role of lover, of friend, of emotional anchor. When was the last time you surprised her with a tender gesture, just because? When was the last time you listened to her heart? Not just the grocery list. The solution isn't in expensive trips or fancy dinners. It's in small, intentional acts of genuine intimacy. Lying down together without phones. Making her coffee, the way she likes it, without being asked. Revisiting good memories, creating new ones. And most importantly, taking care of each other's emotional, physical, and spiritual needs. Because desire only stays where admiration lives. And admiration is born from active care. When that care is missing, she begins to search for what you stopped giving her. And all of it can be triggered by something even deeper, a type of emotional coldness you don't even know you're carrying, but that explodes in your actions. And that's our next point. Mistake 2, the emotional silence that screams he knows. He's drifting. He feels the chill, the emptier moments, the fading sparkle in her eyes. And still he postpones. I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll talk to her later. Maybe next week. Emotional procrastination is a dangerous trap. He believes there's always time to fix what's slipping away. But by the time he tries, there's nothing left to recover. He doesn't do it out of malice, but emotional laziness. Complacency. He trusts so much in her presence that he thinks there's no need to act now. It's the kind of mistake that comes from a need for approval, mixed with fear of vulnerability. So he hides, pretends not to notice her sadness, justifies the distance with work, fatigue, or the classic, it's just a phase. That phase becomes a lifestyle. This opens the door to a superficial connection. The couple is still together, but only on paper. There's no presence, no real listening, no curiosity. She starts feeling like she's in a one-sided relationship. She's the only one trying, the only one noticing, the only one feeling. And once a woman reaches this emotional state, the man has already lost most of the emotional territory, even if he still thinks he's in control. His indifference becomes constant rejection in her eyes. The sad part? He only wakes up when he feels he's losing her. Then he rushes to buy gifts, tries to manufacture affection, but it's already too late. The emotional absence left scars. She's built up silent resentment. She's already started dreaming of a different life. She's lost admiration. And without admiration, desire dies. And without desire, the bond dissolves. Want to stop that from happening? Act now. Set a mental alarm. If 2 days go by without a meaningful conversation, without real touch, without eye contact, it's time to stop and reconnect. Take a walk together. Make a simple dinner. Share a memory. Don't wait for the right moment. Create the moment. Don't let time kill what can still be saved. Reconnection starts with a gesture, and it costs less than an overdue apology. This mistake is rooted in neglected self-awareness. The man avoids looking inward and acknowledging how emotionally absent he's become. And that's just the beginning. Because there's another mistake, born from the same inner neglect, and we're about to dive into it. Let's move on to the third mistake. And this one strikes at something most men tend to ignore: their body. Mistake 3. The forgotten body that weakens the mind. There's a type of self-abandonment that creeps in quietly: the neglect of one's own body. He goes into autopilot, stops caring for himself, gains weight without noticing, feels constantly tired, eats poorly, sleeps little, looks in the mirror and sees someone he doesn't recognize anymore. And when his own reflection starts to disturb him, his self-esteem crumbles. Along with it, his connection to his partner. This is the quiet mistake: thinking she doesn't care. That real love ignores appearances. She may not say anything, but she feels it. What drives her away isn't his body itself, but the energy of neglect, the attitude of whatever. A man who abandons himself radiates weakness, and no woman is truly drawn to a man who's given up on himself. Superficial connection also grows in weak touch, limp hugs, fading scent. Men in this state often carry deep, unspoken guilt. They know they need to change, but keep putting it off. They say they don't have time, that life's too hectic. But in truth, they're running. Because caring for the body means facing yourself, confronting your excesses, adjusting habits. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but the price of not changing is far worse. Because a strong mind cannot live in a weak body. And she senses that disconnect. Want to turn things around? Start small. Walk 30 minutes a day. Drink more water. Cut inflammatory foods. Get your health checked. Lift weights 3 times a week. Care for your skin, your hair, your scent. Read books like The Body Speaks, Pierre Weil, or The Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod. Not because she demands it, but because you deserve it. Because your body is the temple where your wounded masculinity can be restored through intentional action. The man who neglects this lives with a disconnected sense of self. He doesn't realize that his lack of physical energy is killing his sexual drive, his confidence, his posture. He starts believing everything is just stress. But often, what's eroding his masculine presence is physical neglect. And the body keeps the score. And she feels it, because no matter how strong the emotional bond is, desire lives in instinct. And the unchecked instinct to seek stimulation outside the relationship starts growing when the masculine energy inside the home is dull, weak, lifeless. And all of that, deep down, could be avoided with one choice: to look at yourself with more respect. Because a man who loves himself becomes magnetic, and the magnetic man rarely gets left behind. Quick pause here. If this kind of content is opening your eyes to things you used to overlook, hit the like button now and subscribe to the channel, because this is just the beginning. Let's keep going. This next mistake is like poison disguised as affection. Mistake 4. When caring turns into control. Most men think protecting means caring, and caring means controlling. It starts with good intentions. He wants to know where she is, who she's with, if she made it home safe. But slowly, that care becomes invasion. The line between attention and surveillance is thin, and once crossed, love feels like a cage. She starts to feel she no longer has freedom, only permission. This kind of behavior reveals a deep emotional dependency. The man, unknowingly, tries to fill an internal void by controlling the external. Her presence becomes a constant need, because his own absence has become unbearable. So he suffocates, even believing he's showing love. But she sees it and withdraws. No one loves under obligation. She starts feeling watched, not admired. This dynamic often stems from fantasy-driven avoidance. He idealizes the relationship so much that he wants to keep it perfect at any cost. But relationships don't thrive behind emotional electric fences. If she can't go out with friends without his anxiety, if she can't take a while to reply without triggering a crisis, she's no longer a partner, she's a prisoner. And when a woman feels trapped, she starts dreaming of freedom. The scariest part. This type of control is subtle. It wears the mask of care. Text me when you get there. Why did you like that photo? Who's that coworker? Seemingly innocent, yet full of fragile boundaries. The man doesn't realize he's feeding a spiral of tension, where every move she makes becomes a perceived threat. That slowly erodes trust, burns down the emotional safety, and plants deep insecurity that if he wants to restore balance, he must first learn to trust. And trust requires inner work. Cultivate personal hobbies. Spend time alone. Strengthen your self-esteem. Read books like The Gifts of Imperfection, Brené Brown. Reconnect with your own identity outside the relationship. Build a life that doesn't revolve around her. That's what eases emotional dependence and restores peace of mind. Without emotional autonomy, the man becomes a prisoner of constant external validation. And then, any step she takes outside his drawn lines becomes a crisis. Over time, this kills her admiration and makes any other man who's lighter, more grounded, more secure, feel like a tempting escape. And that brings us to the fifth mistake, just as common, just as dangerous. Mistake 5. The coldness disguised as honesty. He says he's just being straightforward, that he's transparent, blunt, says what needs to be said. But his tone is always dry, his answers always short, and the air between them gets colder by the day. The problem isn't the truth, it's the lack of warmth in how it's delivered. Because when sincerity loses its humanity, it becomes coldness. And she starts wondering why she's still with someone who no longer shows tenderness or admiration. That coldness often comes from silent resentment, one the man doesn't even recognize. He stores up minor frustrations, unresolved conflicts, unspoken judgments. And instead of talking it through, he pulls back, acts like everything is fine, but avoids eye contact, tries to stay in control, but loses all lightness. And that cold energy creates invisible cracks in her heart that deepen over time. Worse still, this attitude is tied to emotional immaturity. He believes staying stoic and distant protects him from pain. But in practice, it only builds distance. He confuses maturity with stiffness, and in doing so, loses the sensitivity needed for real connection. When she tries to open up, he shuts down. When she vents, he dismisses. When she goes quiet, he calls it drama. And the emotional gap keeps growing. Here's a simple example. She says she's tired, and he replies, "Me too." That's not connection. That's emotional competition. Real connection means asking, "What made you feel that way?" instead of trying to win the misery contest. That one shift creates closeness. It's an antidote to emotional drift. But it demands a type of self-awareness that most men avoid, what we call neglected self-knowledge. Men stuck in this cold emotional loop often cling to the belief that love isn't about pampering. And they're right. But love also isn't about going silent, dismissing pain, or always being hard. A woman needs to feel there's still softness in him, that she can be vulnerable without being mocked, that he's present not just in body, but in soul. When that's missing, even the smallest warmth from another man becomes a dangerous temptation. This lack of emotional leadership opens the door to chaos. And the next mistake shows exactly how a man's failure to take charge turns the relationship into an unstable ground, where trust fades, desire dies, and the emotional compass is lost. It's time to talk about a quiet mistake that erodes the very foundation of a relationship. Mistake 6. The lack of direction that disorients the relationship. She might not say it aloud, but she feels it. When a man has no direction in life, everything around him starts to weaken, including the relationship. A woman can still love this man, but over time, frustration builds. She feels like he's stuck. No clear goals, no personal evolution, no spark in his eyes. The lack of external movement reveals something deeper, a total absence of emotional leadership. That a man without direction lives reactively. He responds to life, but doesn't create it. And soon, He leans more and more on the woman to make decisions, to plan life, to carry the energy of the household. He becomes an emotional weight without realizing it. Her admiration begins to erode. And when admiration fades, desire follows right behind it. This kind of man often depends on external validation. He wants to look good, to be liked, to fit in. But internally, he's disconnected from what he actually wants to build. That creates fragile boundaries in the relationship. He agrees to everything just to avoid conflict, even when he should stand firm. And she begins to see him as weak, not because he lacks value, but because he lacks backbone. To change this, a man needs to find his center again. Study. Seek out new challenges. Start caring for himself. Books like Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, help rebuild an internal compass. Simple actions like waking up earlier to exercise, setting monthly goals, creating boundaries with his phone, social media, and even family. This creates a masculine energy she can feel, one she instinctively respects. That presence is what prevents the relationship from going on autopilot. A man with no sense of purpose doesn't attract, he survives. And when she begins to admire another man who has clarity, conviction, and direction, even if he's not physically better, the comparison becomes lethal. Because a woman can always sense when she's next to a man who's growing, and when she's next to one who's stuck. Now that you clearly see the 6 mistakes that silently push a woman away, even if she's still physically there, the question is, which of these patterns do you recognize in yourself today? What have you been postponing, thinking there's still time to fix it? The truth is, in relationships, time doesn't heal. It reveals. And if you don't take control now, you might be setting the stage to lose the woman who still loves you. So, will you keep sabotaging yourself? Or will you use this knowledge to become a more conscious, grounded, magnetic man? It all starts with a single decision: to step out of passivity and reclaim your presence. With attitude, emotional clarity, and self-respect, you don't need to change everything overnight, but you do need to start. Now tell me in the comments, which of these mistakes hit you the hardest? Just drop this phrase, "I'm aware now." That one sentence shows you're ready to flip the switch. Thank you for watching all the way through. Truly, this kind of content only exists because you're out there doing the work to grow as a man. If it resonated with you, hit like, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We've got a lot more to learn together.